Our third class of mollusks are cephalopods. Cephalopods are bilaterally symmetrical, and we're just going to generalize and say that they don't have an external shell. There is actually one type of cephalopod, the chambered nautilus here, that does have an external shell, but it's the only one that's known. These cephalopods tend to have internal shells that are modified a little bit. There are some varieties that don't have a shell at all. We're just going to generalize and say no external shell. They respire using gills. They have a closed circulatory system, meaning they have a heart and blood vessels that bring the blood back to the heart. Response is very complex. They have the largest brain out of any invertebrate. Their sensory system is very, very well developed, especially in terms of their eyes, which can see things, whereas before, previous animals with eyes that we've discussed in these videos in this unit could only really sense light versus darkness. For feeding, they use tentacles to capture the prey, and they have jaws that look kind of like a beak to help break food down. Excretion, they have a siphon that helps kick out wastes like an anus. For moving, they can crawl, they can swim, they can use water for jet propulsion. Body support, they all have body cavities, so they are coelomates. Reproduction, they don't have that larva like we looked at in gastropods called a trochopore. Instead, they lay eggs and then those develop into their own type of larva, but they're not trochopores. They have separate sexes, so no hermaphrodites with cephalopods. And fertilization, that joining of the sperm and egg, happens internally. Examples, you don't need to write all the extra information. If you just write down squid, octopus, and then the third one that's coming up, just difference. Squid has 10 tentacles, whereas the octopus has 8. The biggest squid that we know of can get up to 18 meters, which is 60 feet, and weigh a ton. Very, very large, and it moves by jet propulsion. The largest octopus that we know of is the giant Pacific, that can be up to 30 feet, and that one crawls mainly to move around. The third main example, again, you just have to write down its name, not all the extra information, would be the chambered nautilus. It's the only cephalopod that we know of with an external shell that forms in sections. You can actually see the sections in the picture. And it is a gas-filled shell. Each little chamber has gas in it, which allows them to be very buoyant. Now that you've seen this video, you should know how cephalopods are different from the other two classes of mollusks. Take the quiz, complete the column on the chart, get the 3 columns checked off. Then grab the mollusk worksheet, and there is an optional dissection. You are not required to do this one by any means, but I do have a bunch of extra squid that if you would like to dissect one, go ahead. I do have a lab that you can follow. I'm not going to make you write anything or turn anything in for it, but if you want to explore an animal that you might not otherwise get the chance to take a look at, let me know and I can get you set up.